Have you ever wondered if something you've done your entire life, something as private, natural, and seemingly harmless as masturbation, could actually be sabotaging your health after 60? It sounds shocking, maybe even absurd. But what if I told you that one personal habit done the wrong way could quietly chip away at your energy, your confidence, your sexual performance, and even your prostate health? And almost nobody is talking about it. Hi, I'm Dr. Moit Kara. I've spent over 3 decades in urology and men's health, sitting across from men just like you. Strong, smart, capable men who suddenly found themselves confused and frustrated by changes in their bodies they couldn't explain. They'd say things like, "Doctor, it used to work just fine. Now I feel like I'm forcing it. What's wrong with me?" Most of them never suspected that the issue wasn't just aging, it was how they were responding to aging, particularly in their most intimate moments. Because here's the truth, the act itself isn't dangerous, but the way you're doing it might be, and that's where things get dangerous. What felt good and effortless in your 30s or 40s might now be triggering hidden damage. Not because your desire is wrong, not because masturbation is bad, but because your aging body plays by a different set of rules. Rules you were never taught. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 4 most common and dangerous masturbation mistakes men over 60 make, mistakes that could be quietly harming your sexual health, draining your energy, and even weakening your erections. And trust me, the 4th one, even your doctor may not know about it. But before we go deeper, I want to invite you to do something simple that could change your health journey. Click subscribe and turn on the bell icon. I share research-backed, experience-based advice designed specifically for men over 60 who want to protect their health, regain vitality, and continue living fully. You deserve to feel strong, confident, and informed. And if anything I say today resonates with you, if it hits home in a way that makes you pause, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0 and tell me what you're looking for. I read every comment because your experience matters, and this channel is for you. Let's start with the first mistake. It's the one I see most often, and yet most men have no idea it's causing real damage. I call it forcing an erection and rushing to climax, even when your body's not ready. Picture this. An older man, early 60s, maybe 70, sits in my office. He's well-dressed, clearly intelligent, but he looks worried. There's a tension in his face that goes deeper than embarrassment. He leans in and says, "Doc, something's off. I don't feel the same. It takes forever. And when I do climax, it's not satisfying. So I just push harder. I don't know what else to do. I've heard this story 100 times, maybe more. And every time it points to the same issue, trying to force your body into a performance it's no longer built for." You see, aging changes the entire sexual landscape. Blood doesn't flow quite the same way. Nerve endings don't fire as quickly or as intensely. Testosterone, the fuel behind your drive, has likely dropped. It's not your fault. It's nature's design. But what is in your control is how you respond to those changes. Here's what most men do wrong. They try to replicate their younger habits. Same tight grip, same fast mechanical motion, same pressure to perform. But their body. It's asking for something different, something slower, more mindful, more responsive. And when it doesn't respond right away, they double down, squeezing harder, moving faster, rushing to a finish line their body no longer recognizes. And that's where damage begins. Microtears in the penile tissue, urethral irritation, overstimulation of the pelvic floor muscles, even increased pressure on the prostate, which becomes more vulnerable as you age. I've had patients complain of lingering soreness, reduced sensitivity, chronic inflammation, and they never once connected it to how they were masturbating. No one told them it could matter. But it does. The harm is rarely immediate. It doesn't come with bleeding or bruising. It's slow, subtle, almost invisible. Until one day you notice the spark is gone. Your body doesn't respond like it used to. Your erections are weaker. Your desire is fading. And with that, your confidence begins to slip. So you push harder again, and that only makes things worse. Eventually, this cycle can lead to serious conditions: erectile dysfunction, prostate enlargement, nighttime urination, or a constant discomfort in the groin you can't shake. But here's what I want you to know. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're adapting. And adaptation starts with understanding. No one ever taught us that sexual health after 60 is a different game. We were told to just keep going, to prove our masculinity by pushing through. But real strength is knowing when to listen. And right now, your body is asking you to listen. So what can you do instead? Start by slowing down. Use a lighter touch. Shift your focus away from the destination orgasm and toward the journey. Sensation, connection, breath. Give your body permission to feel, not just perform. Don't force it, invite it. Let arousal build gently like a tide coming in. Watch how your body responds. Let go of expectations. And most importantly, treat yourself with kindness. This isn't about giving up, it's about evolving. Because when you stop treating your body like a machine and start treating it like a partner, something remarkable happens. Sensation returns, confidence rebuilds, and your sexual experience becomes richer, not poorer. Now, if you've made this mistake, don't panic. You're not alone. The vast majority of older men I treat have fallen into this pattern, and with just a few mindful changes, the path to healing begins. And that brings us to mistake number 2, one that doesn't just affect your body, but slowly rewires your brain, reshaping your very ability to experience real pleasure and connection. 2. Relying on pornography as your only form of sexual stimulation. And as the cycle continues, something subtle but deeply unsettling begins to happen. You don't even notice it at first, but over time, the very things that once sparked desire begin to feel muted. What once gave you pleasure now barely moves the needle. The things that used to excite you. They start to feel dull, repetitive, even hollow. Your brain no longer lights up the way it used to. So you chase more intense content, longer sessions, more frequent use. You keep trying to fill a cup that now seems to have a hole in the bottom. But this isn't about morals or shame. This is about biology. The overuse of pornography, especially as we age quietly, chips away at our sexual vitality. It hijacks your brain's reward system, rewiring how you experience arousal, pleasure, and even emotional connection. What used to be fulfilling now feels like a struggle. You may notice that it's harder to feel present with your partner. Touch doesn't spark the same warmth. Closeness begins to feel foreign. And here's the most painful part. This shift doesn't always announce itself. Instead, it sneaks in. You might find yourself feeling more emotionally distant, a little more isolated, perhaps even depressed. You can't quite explain it, and yet something feels off. The damage isn't just physical, it's emotional. Deep, internal, and profoundly human. I've spoken with men who broke down in tears, not because of what they did, but because of what they lost. They remember a time when desire came easily, when a shared glance, a gentle touch, or a warm embrace could awaken something inside them. Now they find themselves needing a screen, an escape, a digital stimulant just to feel anything at all. And the saddest truth, many of them had no idea that a private habit could have such devastating public consequences. Their relationships began to suffer. Their confidence slipped. The The spark in their eyes dimmed not because they didn't care, but because they didn't realize what was happening to them. But here's the hope: it's not too late. Even after 60, your brain remains remarkably adaptable. Neuroplasticity isn't reserved for the young. With the right intention, you can retrain your mind to reconnect with real-world intimacy. You can rediscover the joy of closeness, the spark of imagination, and the richness of emotional connection. Start small. Begin by reducing screen time. Replace digital stimulation with something more organic. Memory imagination, or even romantic literature. These aren't just distractions, they're doorways back to your own inner world. You'll be surprised how much life returns when you stop numbing yourself to it. And just when you think you're getting a handle on it. There's another mistake, one that's equally quiet, but perhaps even more draining to your body's energy. In fact, this could be the hidden reason why so many older men feel constantly tired, uninspired, and unable to recover their former zest for life. Mistake number 3. Masturbating too frequently for your age and energy levels. I remember one man in particular. He sat across from me, quiet, contemplative, before finally asking, "Is it possible I'm doing it too often?" He was 71. Still in relatively good health, but lately everything felt like a struggle. He was fatigued all the time, irritable. His focus was slipping. He wasn't sleeping well. Even the activities he used to love, like gardening, cycling, or chatting with friends, felt like a chore. At first he chalked it up to age, but the more we talked, the more something unexpected emerged. He was masturbating almost every day, sometimes more than once. He believed it was helping him relax, a harmless way to unwind. But in reality, it was silently draining him. There's a long-standing belief among many men that ejaculation is always healthy, that it's a necessary release. And while that may have held some truth in your 30s or 40s, your body changes after 60. The rules shift. Hormonal recovery slows down. Your nervous system takes longer to return to baseline. Energy, once abundant, becomes a precious and limited resource. And when you're already tired, bored, or emotionally low, frequent ejaculation doesn't soothe the body. It depletes it. The problem. This depletion is silent. You don't feel it after one session. Or 5. But weeks go by, then months, and suddenly you wake up groggy, drained, wondering where your energy went. Your drive fades, your mood dips, and you assume it's just old age creeping in. But the body has its own way of speaking, and when it's asking you to conserve energy, pushing harder only makes the fatigue worse. Overmasturbation, when your system is already taxed, can lead to dips in testosterone, disrupted sleep, and even wear on your prostate, contributing to issues like urinary urgency or waking multiple times a night. That doesn't mean you have to give it up entirely. Sexual expression is natural and even beneficial at any age, but it has to be in tune with your current rhythm. What your body could recover from in hours may now take days. The key isn't to stop, it's to listen. For some men, reducing frequency to once or twice a week creates a remarkable change in energy, in focus, even in emotional balance. Others explore more mindful forms of pleasure that don't always end in ejaculation, allowing them to experience connection without the energetic crash. When you stop treating your body like a machine and start treating it like a wise, sensitive partner, everything shifts. You don't need to do more. You simply need to do less with more awareness and care. But while this mistake quietly drains your strength, the next one targets something even more delicate, your prostate. And what most men don't realize is that how you care for this tiny gland during and after self-pleasure could shape your comfort, your bladder control, and your long-term health in ways you've never imagined. So far, we've uncovered how subtle habits most men never question can quietly erode their health over time. And now, with this awareness, a new door opens. because once you see the impact, you can begin to change it. And yet, despite all this, most men don't think to trace these symptoms, like reduced sensitivity, discomfort, or a drop in vitality, back to something as personal as how they touch themselves. It feels too trivial, too private, or maybe just too embarrassing. So instead, they blame their age, or they point to their diet, or chalk it all up to the so-called natural process of getting older. But here's the truth that rarely gets said out loud: it's not just age. And it's certainly not inevitable. You have far more control than you think. Small, thoughtful changes can have a profound ripple effect. For example, something as simple as urinating after climax helps flush out lingering fluid from the urethra and reduces the risk of infection or inflammation. Adjusting your body position. Less pressure, more support can ease strain on the pelvic floor and lower back. Even becoming more aware of how often and how intensely you stimulate yourself can shift the entire equation of how your body feels afterward. Because protecting your prostate, your erections, your energy, it's not just about avoiding disease. It's about protecting your comfort, your confidence, and your sense of control in everyday life. I've watched men well into their 70s regain peace and ease in their bodies, not through medication, not through some radical overhaul, but simply by treating their body with the same care they once reserved for others. All it took was a little more awareness and a willingness to adapt. And now that you understand the deeper cost of these 4 silent habits, the way they chip away at you slowly, day by day, it's time to bring everything together. Because knowing the mistakes is only the beginning. The real transformation begins when you start rebuilding. Rebuilding strength, rebuilding sensitivity, rebuilding satisfaction, not just in the bedroom, but in your relationship with yourself. So what does that look like? Let's start here. If you've made it this far, I want to speak to you directly. From one man to another. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not alone. The changes you've been noticing may be a slower response time, lower drive, that quiet sense of disconnection. They're not failures, they're messages. Your body isn't betraying you. It's talking to you. And the question is, are you listening? For most of us, the answer has been no. We were taught to tough it out, to keep going, to do things the way we always have. But after 60, what used to work may start working against us. You've now seen the 4 most common mistakes older men make when it comes to self-pleasure. The first, forcing release without a strong erection, might seem like a harmless workaround. But in truth, it's a repeated insult to tissue that craves gentleness, not pressure. The second, relying solely on pornography for arousal, slowly rewires your brain. It dims real-life intimacy and steals from your deeper ability to connect not just with others, but with yourself. The third mistake, overindulging in frequency, without regard to your body's limits, drains your nervous system. It leaves you feeling foggy, fatigued, or emotionally flat, like you're moving through the day in a dull haze. And the fourth, neglecting your prostate during and after release, invites slow, hidden inflammation. You may not notice it at first, but over time it chips away at urinary comfort, sexual vitality, and overall well-being. These aren't headline-making mistakes. They don't scream for attention. They don't knock on the door with a sharp pain. They whisper. They creep in quietly, slowly, until one morning you wake up and wonder where your strength went, where your spark went, where you went. And I'm not sharing this from some place of criticism. I'm sharing it from a place of deep compassion, because I've had this conversation with hundreds of men, some who felt ashamed, others who were confused, numb, or simply tired of feeling like a ghost of themselves. Many of them broke down in tears, finally naming what they'd been carrying in silence. These were strong men, Men who built businesses, raised families, contributed to their communities. And yet no one had ever told them that the way they treated their bodies, especially behind closed doors, could shape how alive they felt in the world. So let me be that voice for you now. Your sexual health still matters. Your energy still matters. Your ability to feel pleasure, connection, joy, it still matters. But it does ask for something different now. Not more force, not more pressure, but more listening. You may need to relearn how to touch yourself in ways that nourish rather than deplete. You may need to give yourself permission to slow down, to allow arousal to build, not rush, to explore what happens when you let go of performance and follow your body's lead instead. You may even find that real pleasure isn't always tied to climax, but to presence, to patience, to curiosity, to feeling truly connected again. This is about so much more than avoiding mistakes. It's about stepping into a new chapter, not defined by decline, but by wisdom. You've lived through decades of doing, proving, pushing. Now your body is inviting you into a new kind of strength, one rooted in sensitivity, self-respect, and awareness. And here's the most beautiful part. It's not too late. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s reconnect with their bodies in deeper, richer ways than ever before. All it takes is the courage to notice, to change, to stop doing what no longer serves you. So if you recognize yourself in any of these 4 habits, take a breath. Don't judge, don't shame. Just thank your body for speaking up, and commit gently but firmly to doing things differently. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight, just one small shift. Maybe it's choosing a different position, skipping the screen, asking, what does my body need today, instead of, how fast can I finish? Because this isn't just about sex. It's about your quality of life. It's about reclaiming parts of yourself that you thought were lost. So as we close this chapter, I want you to walk away with more than knowledge. I want you to walk away with a new mindset. You're still a sexual being. You're still allowed to explore. You're still capable of joy, of intimacy, of aliveness. But now you approach it with intention, with clarity, with power that comes from understanding, not from force. These 4 mistakes don't have to define your future. They can become your turning point. So start now, in small, conscious steps. And if this spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear it, because every share could be the beginning of someone else's transformation. And in our next guide, we'll go even deeper into strategies to help you boost your erections, support your prostate, and reignite your energy after 60. No pills, no shame, no gimmicks. You won't want to miss it.